Hello, I'm Chris Yanuszewski, the Rebellious Times podcast founder, where we'll be hearing lessons from founders exploring how AI is reshaping work and life. And today we've got Cleo O'Hara joining us, CEO and co-founder of Wishy, the number one app for personalized luxury styling. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you so much. Thanks for introducing me. Yes, so I'm Cleo Hanna, the co-founder and CEO of Wishy, and I'm excited to talk about retail, e-commerce, AI.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Really interested to hear your story. Love to know how you got into this business, and you're doing some really cool and interesting things in this space. So maybe I could actually use some of your service myself. But yeah, please kick off. Tell me about your background. How did you get
Sure.
into this?
So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wishy, and how I got here was I started my career in finance, and then moved to fashion, and then e-commerce, and now more e-commerce and AI. So I think I'm in a good position to discuss the evolution of online retail.
Brilliant.
I can give you a little bit of I think online retail background and how it all started. So first there was a few online stores, and that was the big boom of just having a few online stores. Then it came some explosion of more stores, more products, and then this influx of inventory just made it much harder for consumers to digest and to understand what they should buy, because there were so many different formats of products. You had direct to consumer websites, you had multi retails, you had marketplaces, you had secondhand, you have all these different ways of selling inventory, and it's just very overwhelming for the users. And I think where Wishy comes in, it's this new era of having the user being matched to the right product. So it is matching the right products with the right user, and I think that's where we are today, and that's who will win.
Fantastic. Yeah, the e-commerce experience for customers was kind of shaped by the big platforms, and this is what you get, right? But when it comes to something like fashion and everybody's style, it's and the fact that actually getting a feel for what the clothes will look like on you, how they'll fit with your overall style, it's not easy to do it
No,
online. You know, you need a
no,
little
and
help.
I think that's where Wishy comes in. It's we take the infinite inventory and we make it personal. And that's something that's still pretty rare, and fashion is personal. It is on your based on your lifestyle, your intent, your budget, all of your preferences. And all of these websites that are categorized in the same way, whether it's women's shoes, men's pants, it's just, it is not personalized enough. And we, I think, bridge the gap between taking all of this infinite inventory and making it making individualized recommendations that are not only based on clicks and views, but really the context, the different nuances. So the proprietary AI we've built, it's not, "Oh, this is what you might like," is why you'll love it. And it's a little bit different as to why you'll love it is based on the context, lifestyle preferences, etc.
Awesome. Who are your typical customers?
Our customers range, I would say, but we definitely have the cool mom, as we like to call her. There, it's definitely a use case there. We have the working professional, whether they just got a promotion, whether they change cities and they need to change their lifestyle. Another use case we get a lot is social re-entry. If someone went through a breakup, or someone went through a divorce, or is re-entering the dating scene. Another huge use case too is travel. So we see a lot of people actually book to get the perfect looks for when they travel. So that's another one. And then our most common use cases, which is interesting and great for us as a business, is the everyday looks. Is someone just wants to look put together, whether it's women, men, young or old. They just, that's their line, is, "I want to look put together." And it's interesting because it's not necessarily for a gala or a gallery opening. It's not these one-off events. Is they want to look put together throughout their day. And I think that's what Wishy solves, because we have the feature where you can upload items from your closet and you can take pictures of what you own and say, I own this like sweater, so build a look around it. And we can pull from all of our inventory partners, which can go from Amazon,
From
Saks Fifth
Amazon.
Avenue, Neiman Marcus, ASOS, J. Crew, even secondhand brands like Fashion File. So we have all sorts of high, low, secondhand, new, your own closet, and I think having this very macro view on your like fashion needs makes it a very unique destination.
Brilliant. And so how does the process work? Say you've got a use case for a tired dad that's got 3 kids and kind of wants to pick himself up a bit. You know what I'm talking about here. How would I connect with you on board
Yeah.
and get
So
myself a fantastic
it's a
looking
good
board?
question. So you go through the onboarding, which is a few questions about yourself. Do you like rugged style? Do you like classic style? What is your need? Is it just a few pieces for your closet, or do you want like full looks? Depending on your need, your style, and your preferences, we matched you through to a professional stylist. We call them style experts as well. Um, our process to accept these stylists is very rigorous. We are co-founded by Carla Welsh, who's been voted the number one celebrity stylist in the world by The Hollywood Reporter. So having her as a co-founder, we have to stay in to very high standards of quality of stylist. And because of the AI we've built, we have that's what we call like a layer, which is like human supervised AI. So these like stylists always validate whatever is being sent to the customer. The AI is never exposed to the customer without the human validating it. And and so we accept less than like 1% of stylists that actually apply to become stylists on the platform. So to go back to the onboarding, you go through the onboarding, you get matched to a compatible stylist based on your different preferences. And then the stylist looks at your profile. She sees that, or he sees that you are a tired dad. You have 3 kids. Your budget is under $200, and then the stylist basically curates from all of our inventory partners, which go from high to low, including your closet if you've uploaded items to your closet.
That's fantastic. And how does this impact the metrics for an e-commerce business that is in the
So
apparel
it's very
space?
interesting because you have someone already that's coming in with very high intent. And the way we describe Wishy is a like traffic qualifier because the client has already gone through an onboarding, they've already paid to get styled. Once they arrive at the like stylist level, they're very much ready to purchase. So our conversion rates are very high, also because we have all this information about you and we know that your budget is this, your color preferences are this, your necklines is this. So we have all of your attributes, and the stylist matches you with relevant products that meets your like attributes. So I think that's what's very beneficial for the brands is their inventory is being exposed to very relevant users, and that's the our key like tagline is we match the right product to the right person. So A, the conversion rates are much higher. B, the return rates of the clothing is much lower because we know this is going to fit you, and we know it matches your shoes that you uploaded, and we know you're going to wear it on your next vacation. All of these reasons make the return rates much lower. And then there's another interesting metric that most people don't talk about is what we call like the wishy effect, which is spend propensity. Even though you've said you want to spend under 200, because it's merchandised in a way that's so personalized and very visually appealing, the user ends up spending more. So instead of spending 150, they might spend 250, and therefore the wishy effect of AOV increase, UPT increases as well.
Fantastic. And how often are customers buying through Wishy?
I would say it's a pretty like recurring, because once the client has gotten the taste of having someone curate the entire web for them, they're not doing it, you know, on their own. Like, I don't know, if you went to a hairdresser and you know that you can pay a hairdresser to cut your hair, are you gonna like cut your hair yourself, or you're gonna let some expert do it? And it's kind of the same thing. Is I'd rather have someone do it for me because they're going to recommend the right products. I'm not going to return less. I'm going to have outfits that are all based on my like preferences and my lifestyle. So it's once we get the user and they've tasted Wishy, they're like never leaving. But let's say around like 4 times a year is the average amount of time they repeat their session.
Four times a
Mhm.
year. Okay, fantastic. What do you see for? What's your vision for the future? Where do you see Wishy
I think
going?
where we see Wishy going is like this personalization layer to the e-commerce world where we basically power smarter discovery of products. So I think the consumer is just going to discover products in a different way, and is not going to open 20 different websites and have carts that have a bunch of products in the carts and not checking out. I think the products are going to come to them through their stylist, through their like agentic stylist, whatever. But at least they're going to see relevant products come to them and discover fashion and relevant items in a much smarter way and a much more efficient way. Not necessarily based on what they viewed or clicked, because that's basic and that's what everyone has today, but more based on nuances that today only like Wishy knows.
It's very interesting. I was talking to a VC recently about an AI startup, and he commented that one thing that was interested to him and his company was in the e-commerce space for there to be a plaid-like solution, and it's almost the experience is so fragmented with so many with the marketplace and the web store being the center of e-commerce, whereas it should or it could be the actual customer that's the center of e-commerce, and the marketplace has kind of come to them, and it's almost like what you're doing here. You're kicking this off with the personalization.
Yeah, it's personalization, it's discovery, conversion. It goes to the like same umbrella, but I think it starts with the data that you have on the consumers. Our consumers are very, very generous with their data because they want to share everything about themselves. That we know how many times they go to the gym. We know what they eat. We know where they go on holiday. We know like everything about them, because they also naturally understand that the more they share, the better the recommendations will be because the styles will have the whole context. Um, and I think
Yeah.
that's where we're at. We're in a like contextual commerce space that really takes into consideration everyone's attributes and like preferences, and this experience of going through an onboarding and sharing your preferences is very like attractive to the consumer. The consumer loves to share everything they're doing, and we're actually working today on a way to digest all the information that they're giving. Because they're giving so much information, it's actually hard for a human being to digest the different sources of data, the quiz, the chat, the revisions of the items. So we're trying to find a way to aggregate all of this data and making it into a very actionable feedback.
Fantastic. Well, that's amazing work you're doing there. I'm super interested to follow your business and see where it goes. And where does a person go to get some style guidance?
Today,
Yeah, from Wishy. Where should they
oh, they
visit?
should go on like wishy.me and go through the onboarding, and get matched with a stylist, or go to the app store. We have our own like native app, Wishy, only on the app store, so only available for iOS. But they should definitely check out at least just to see who their match is, what the stylist like looks like, the stylist portfolio. They can see all the looks that the stylists have created, just to get a sense of inspiration. And when they're like ready to just book a stylist, it's pretty affordable. And that was always a goal of our co-founder Carla Welsh, was to make what she does in an affordable way because of our tech. So the reason why we made it like $60 for a session is thanks to our technology, of course. It's $60 for a mini session, so you get 2 looks, versus $130 for 5 looks. That's when you want a little bit more of looks and a little bit more of a revamp. And then you have the Luxe plan, which is $550. And the Lux plan also comes with a call. So clients really like that. They like to like share a little bit more on a call, and then get a more like people do that like twice a year. They do the Lux like twice a year, and for like summer and like winter or some stuff like that.
Fantastic. Oh, well, it's been fantastic having you on. Thanks so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I can't wait to follow Wishy, and I wish you
Thank you
all the
so much,
best.
Chris. Wishing you the best. Thank you.